2,000 years ago, the Stoic philosopher Seneca issued a chilling directive to his wealthiest friend: set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, "Is this the condition that I feared?" He was not giving advice on frugality. He was teaching him a dangerous, weaponized, psychological hack designed to engineer a mind that is utterly unbreakable under pressure. Look at the modern landscape today. We live in an absolute dependency on comfort. We are conditioned to seek the path of least resistance, to insulate ourselves from cold, from hunger, from isolation, and from social friction. We treat convenience as a virtue and discomfort as a tragedy. But in reality, this obsession with comfort is the exact vulnerability that narcissists, manipulators, and toxic environments exploit. When you cannot tolerate discomfort, your boundaries become fluid. You stay in a toxic relationship because the loneliness of walking away is too uncomfortable. You endure disrespect at a workplace because the uncertainty of leaving scares you. Your desperate need for comfort is the invisible leash that toxic people use to control your life. There is a select group of individuals who consciously choose to sabotage their own comfort. They do not wait for life to test them, they test themselves. They understand a lethal truth born from Machiavellian realism and Stoic fortitude: the only way to render yourself immune to external pressure is to become a master of internal suffering. This is the practice of voluntary discomfort. By deliberately introducing controlled hardship into their daily routine, they strip the world of its power to threaten them. You cannot manipulate a man who is content with sleeping on the floor. You cannot intimidate a person who has already befriended their deepest fears. They move through chaotic environments with a silent, terrifying force, because they have built a fortress that no external crisis can breach. If you have ever felt your boundaries crumble under high-pressure situations, or if you find yourself constantly people-pleasing just to avoid uncomfortable confrontations, you are trapped in the comfort prison. You have left your mind untrained, soft, and easily manipulated. Today, we are dismantling that weakness. We are going to deconstruct the dangerous discipline of voluntary discomfort, stripped of all shallow fitness advice and generic motivation. This is the raw psychological blueprint to becoming emotionally untouchable, neutralizing narcissistic leverage, and forging a self-respect that can never be broken by the storms of life. To understand the absolute necessity of this dangerous discipline, you must look at human psychology without illusions. Your brain is naturally wired for survival, and survival historically meant conserving energy and avoiding pain. In the ancient world, this mechanism kept us alive, but in the modern psychological arena, this evolutionary programming has been inverted into a trap. It has turned us into emotional cowards. When you prioritize comfort above all else, you inadvertently hand a remote control over your emotions to every toxic person, narcissist, and manipulator in your social circle. They realize that all they have to do to make you comply is to threaten your peace of mind. They use gaslighting, passive-aggressive remarks, and sudden cold shoulders to create an uncomfortable atmosphere. Because your untrained mind cannot handle the anxiety of that tension, you surrender your self-respect just to make the discomfort stop. You apologize for things you didn't do. You tolerate boundaries being crossed. You become a passive participant in your own manipulation. This realization is devastating. It means that your softness is not an innocent personality trait, it is an active liability. Every single time you choose the comfortable silence over an uncomfortable truth, you are actively participating in your own subjugation. The silent achiever refuses to live as a hostage to their own emotional avoidance. They realize that emotional strength is not a natural gift. It is a muscle that must be broken down, torn, and rebuilt through intentional friction. They do not view discomfort as an enemy to be avoided. They view it as the ultimate currency required to purchase absolute autonomy and unyielding self-respect. The first critical milestone in building an unbreakable mind is understanding the illusion of safe havens. Niccolò Machiavelli observed in his political writings that those who try to maintain absolute safety and status quo are always the first to be destroyed by unexpected change. The modern mind believes that if it creates a perfectly comfortable routine, it is safe. This is a fatal delusion. Comfort does not provide safety, it merely provides an anesthetic that numbs you to your own vulnerability. When you spend years avoiding difficult conversations, avoiding physical exertion, and avoiding mental isolation, your psychological threshold drops to a dangerous low. A single backhanded comment from a narcissistic boss can ruin your entire week. A minor betrayal from a friend can shatter your mental stability. You have essentially built a house of glass and convinced yourself it is a fortress. The silent achiever smashes the glass house intentionally. They implement what Stoics call premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, but they take it a step further by physically rehearsing the very scenarios they dread. They understand that the only way to validate your armor is to let it take hits under controlled conditions. If you want a mind that never breaks under sudden, chaotic pressure, you must spend your quiet days introducing calculated, artificial pressure into your life. You must turn your daily routine into a laboratory of resilience. This brings us to the practical execution of strategic deprivation. This is not about self-punishment, it is about absolute tactical decoupling. Narcissists and manipulators gain power over you by identifying what you are addicted to, whether that is social approval, constant validation, material luxury, or emotional codependency. Once they identify the anchor of your comfort, they threaten to remove it, forcing you into compliance. The silent achiever systematically identifies their own comforts and deprives themselves of them voluntarily. If you are addicted to social validation, you practice periods of total, unreadable isolation where you completely disappear from social algorithms. If you are dependent on constant digital noise to drown out your anxieties, you force yourself to sit in an empty room in absolute, deafening silence for hours. If you fear financial instability, you deliberately cut your spending to the bare, absolute minimum for a week, proving to your subconscious that you can survive on nothing. By executing this strategic deprivation, you are performing a psychological audit on your dependencies. You are looking at the luxuries, the approvals and the comforts of your life and saying, "You do not own me. I can exist without you." When a toxic individual attempts to threaten your status, your access, or your social standing, they realize their threats have zero velocity. You have already walked through the fire of having nothing, and you found yourself completely intact. You have effectively castrated their ability to manipulate you through fear. The next profound stage of this dangerous discipline is the desensitization of the ego. Human pride is incredibly fragile. and it is the primary target for emotional vampires. A narcissist will target your ego through public disrespect, subtle insults, or sudden exclusion, expecting your pride to shatter and trigger an emotional, defensive reaction. The moment you react defensively, you have validated their attack. You have allowed them to dictate your emotional state. To counter this, the silent achiever uses voluntary discomfort to systematically kill their own pride. They purposefully put themselves in situations where they are not the center of attention, where their achievements are unrecognized, and where they are forced to start from absolute zero. They choose environments that crush their arrogance. They embrace criticism without offering a single word of defense. They allow themselves to be underestimated by small minds without feeling the desperate need to correct them. This creates a psychological phenomenon known as absolute neutrality. When you have intentionally subjected your ego to the cold, harsh elements of voluntary humility, the insults of a toxic person lose all impact. They hurl a calculated insult at you, expecting a visual or verbal explosion, but they are met with a calm, steady, unblinking gaze and absolute silence. Their insult drops to the floor like a harmless stone. They realize that they are not dealing with a fragile ego that can be baited into an emotional trap. They are dealing with an immovable monument of self-control. Finally, you must master the friction protocol. In your daily life, tension is inevitable. Toxic people will create friction. Emergencies will arise, and external chaos will strike without warning. The undisciplined mind views friction as a signal to panic, to cry out, or to seek immediate escape. The silent achiever views friction as an operational baseline. You must train your nervous system to remain flat and slow when everything around you is accelerating. You do this by inserting microdoses of physical and mental friction into your everyday actions. When your body screams to quit during intense exertion, you force yourself to execute 5 more minutes with a completely neutral expression. When you receive an infuriating, manipulative text message from a toxic individual, you force yourself to wait hours before responding, deliberately sitting with the initial spike of adrenaline until it completely dissolves into cold logic. This protocol alters the wiring of your brain. It creates a critical delay between external stimulus and internal response. You stop reacting like an animal and begin executing like a chess master. Friction no longer causes your mind to fracture. Instead, it triggers an automatic countdown inside your inner citadel, causing your focus to sharpen, your pulse to slow down, and your mind to become completely hyper-aware of the field. The ultimate realization of Machiavellian Stoicism is that true power is never given. It is extracted through the intentional sacrifice of comfort. The world believes that freedom is the ability to indulge in every luxury and escape every hardship. But that is not freedom, that is a gilded cage. True freedom is the absolute sovereignty over your own mind. The internal certainty that no person, no insult, no narcissistic trap, and no external crisis can force you to break your character or surrender your self-respect. The silent achiever does not look for an easy life. They know that an easy life breeds a weak mind, and a weak mind is a playground for manipulators. They welcome the cold, they embrace the pressure, and they intentionally run toward the friction that everyone else is fleeing. They let the fires of voluntary discomfort burn away their insecurities, their vanity, and their need for cheap approval, leaving behind nothing but a pure, unyielding core of absolute self-mastery. When you step out of the shadows after months of this dangerous discipline, you do not need to announce your strength. The world can feel the density of your presence. The narcissists who once tried to handle you will suddenly find themselves completely powerless. The toxic people who tried to manipulate you will realize that their psychological strings cannot tie themselves to a mind made of stone. You have transformed yourself from a passive victim of external chaos into an untouchable, silent force of nature. Stop running from the pressure. Stop protecting your comfort at the expense of your sovereignty. The next time you are faced with a choice between the easy, comfortable compromise and the difficult, uncomfortable truth, choose the friction. Lock your jaw, quiet your breath, and let the pressure forge your character. If this transmission has disrupted your softness and added stone to the foundations of your inner fortress, it is time to formalize your commitment. Subscribe to Silent Power Psychology, leave your silent mark of approval on this video, and share these insights strictly with those rare individuals who possess the dangerous discipline required to execute them. Stay disciplined, stay silent, stay untouchable.